today I'm going to show you how to build your own PC. So first of all, you'll need a few things. The motherboard, which is this box here. This is a component where all the other components plug into. So once you get your motherboard, you need to unpack it and make sure that you get this back plate, if it has one, out of the box. Next, we have a power supply unit. This basically provides the power for all the internal components in your PC. Then we have this, which is the processor. That's it there. And then in this box as well, there's what they call a heat sink and fan. I'll show you how to install it whenever we come to actually build. Then we have this memory cards. Well, they're not memory cards, they're memory sticks. Your computer needs them. That's like it's a work space. Then you have a storage drive. This is where Windows would be installed and where your programs are installed to. And last of all, we have a USB pen which has a Windows installation software on it. You can create your own if you've got a computer by going onto Microsoft.com and go into the Windows 11 download section. It's called Media Creation Tool. Just click on that, put your USB pen in, and then just, you know, it'll just create all the files you need to install Windows on a system. Right, there's two ways to go about building a PC. You can either build it inside the case and connect everything up, or you can build it externally and test everything first. Me personally, I build externally, test, and then when I know everything's okay, I build into the case. So, my motherboard. Okay, so now we open this, and here we have it. Now the motherboard has three basic parts. This is the socket where the processor would connect. These are the sockets where the RAM plugs in. Underneath here is a connector for your storage drive. And these slots here are if your processor hasn't got onboard graphics so yet, and you have to provide a graphics card. For this demonstration, I'm going to use a Ryzen 5. Now this one has built-in graphics. So first of all, this is the processor. So if we carefully take it out of this plastic shell, you can see here, if you look, there's a little triangle. Now there's a triangle on the motherboard as well. Well, a mark, should I say. So what you do, you lift the lever up and carefully lift this CPU out of the plastic packaging and just place it down and if it's seated correctly, you'll not need any force. If you're having to press down and apply force, it means that it's not in the socket. On one underneath the CPU, there's a row of pins. One of them's bent. What you'd have to do then is get a magnifying glass and use a needle to straighten it up. But hopefully you won't have that problem. Now another way you can tell if it's in the socket properly, where it says Ryzen, it's the top of the letters is near where the memory slots are, and the little triangle and the dot on the motherboard are at the opposite end. So if we just close that down, now this you can get different cooling solutions for your processor. This is a stock AMD one. Now with this one, these need to be removed. So if we go like this, for the most part you'll only really need one size screwdriver, apart from if removing this plate here, if your motherboard actually has one of these plates. Some don't, and what you'd have to do is buy a heatsink for your storage drive. Right, okay, so now they're removed onto one side. Now if we take this out of the box, this is pre-applied with thermal paste. So now the AMD logo goes towards the back of the case, and what you do is there's like these holes in the stuck up now, so you line the screws up with those holes, and then carefully what you do, you go to one side and you screw it just a bit, then turn it round, go to the other side and screw it the other side and the opposite side, and screw that a little bit, then back across here and to the opposite side, screw it a bit, same again. And eventually you don't have to put too much pressure on it, but you'll feel that the screws won't turn anymore. When you get to that point, stop, don't apply any extra force. Now you don't have to do it exactly the way I'm showing. You can, but as long as you tighten from one corner to the other, you're all right. You're not putting excess pressure on any one part of the CPU. Okay. That one. And that one. Okay, right, the CPU is installed now, and so is the heatsink. So now you have to connect this cable for the fan to work. Now it should be labelled on your motherboard CPU fan. So pop that on, and now it's ready to go. So next thing is we install a storage drive. So we need to unscrew these. This is another reason why I like to build outside the case, because the screws are quite difficult to work on once you're inside. Right, now we've got an M.2 style storage drive. There is other types of drive, what they call SATA type drives, but these M.2s, these are the fastest drives you can buy. They range from speeds of 3,500 megabytes to, like, you know, anything up to 15,000 megabytes. That's of course on a Gen 5 drive. Okay, you can see now I've put that in there and it's all lined up. So let's put this on. Now underneath here there's a heat sink. Now I've already took it off, but these, on this heat sink there's this thermal compound, and there's a thin layer of plastic to protect it in shipping. Well, I've removed that already, sort of thing. Make sure you remove that film. Okay, right, then excuse me, then we screw it down. Again, you don't have to go crazy mad tightening. As soon as you feel a pinch, that's it. That's good enough. Sometimes they don't quite line up right, so you just have to move it a little bit until it's more or less in the right position, and then it'll screw, just like it is doing now. Right, okay, now just one more step to install, and that's the memory. Now this particular one is it's a model AM4 motherboard, so you need DDR4 memory, which is this. Now this is the thing, you have to install it in a certain way. First of all, the logo generally has to face the CPU. You see there's these little notches here, which corresponds to this cutout area. Now if you put it the wrong way around, it won't go in, sort of thing. You should never, and if you feel that resistance, you should never force it. So flip that catch down. Some have two catches, some just have a catch on one side. Now this it might seem strange, but you put it in the second slot from the CPU, not the first. If you do that, it will throw up an error. Okay. There it goes, and this goes in the last slot. Right, that's all the stuff installed. Now we'll go over to my test bench, connect the power supply and install Windows. Okay, it's time to build and test. So this is your power supply over here. That's what it looks like. Now it has a connector that's quite long. That goes in here. Now if you look, there's like a little wedge, and there's like a corresponding clip there. So you just place that in there. Make sure it's clipped down, and then the next thing you do is there's this little cable here. Now there's a connector just here, and you have to connect to here. Again, it's got a little lip which corresponds to the clip that's on it. Here we go. So now we can apply the power. Now, because we haven't got a switch wired up, we need to be able to power it on somehow. How you do that is you just here. There's a row of pins. Now, what you do is, well, this one. Just put a bit of light on the situation. This connector here, this side, the bottom two pins, you get a screwdriver and short them together. And if your power supply's turned on, which this one clearly is not, it should fire up. Was it turned on? Let's try that again, but without the hoops. I've turned it on now. So these two pins here, this connector, they're on the right hand side of the bottom two pins. Short them with a screwdriver, and it will start to power on. Right, I'm gonna click on setup for home use, well, personal use, and next. Now this takes quite a long time, so I'm going to pause the video and I'll come back when it's finished. Okay, so we're at the point now where if I had a Microsoft account, you'd sign in with it, but I don't for this, so we'll have to create one. So here it says no account, create one. So click on that, and now you've got two options. You can either get a new email address, or you can use a current one. So I'm gonna enter my current one, and then I'll unpause the video. And there you go, Windows 11's now installed. Time for the next part, putting it in the casing. Just one more thing, I forgot to mention that when you put your memory in, chances are it won't be running at its full speed. So what you need to do, you need to go into BIOS. Now on most motherboards, you turn it on and just keep hitting delete until you get there. There we go. Now on this one we just go to memory and we choose XMP profile 1. Now it might be slightly different depending on your make and version of the motherboard, but it's usually what you have these two options, or at least one of them, or you have an option to set the manual speed of the RAM, which is printed on the back of the sticks here. So let's select that and go to exit and save. Now we'll go back into BIOS and we'll check whether it's took. Okay, so now we're running at the speed that the memory's designed for. This one's 3600. Okay, so that's it. We'll click yes and just let it boot back into Windows one more time, and then we're ready for putting it in its casing. And there we go. Now it's time to install the PC into the case. So first of all, we need to install this rear I/O shield. Next, it's time to install the power supply. There are two types of screw that are used in building a PC. These are slightly larger ones and generally are used for the power supply. There are 4 screw holes that hold the power supply. A general good idea is to put this screw in first, which holds the whole power supply in place. Then you can just screw the rest of the screws in. And there you go. As I always say, you don't need to over tighten these things, just enough for that it grabs. As I mentioned before, I tend to build that outside the case, then I can test that everything works and then finally bolt it in place. So first of all, we have This is the USB 3.0 connector. Now it goes in here, but you've got to be very careful because you can easily bend the pins plugging it in. Okay, next we shall have the USB. Okay, USB 2. Now it can go in any one of these headers that's labelled USB 2, but it is keyed. There's that, if you look, that one's filled in, so you can't really put it in wrong way. If you're trying to put it in and there's resistance, you've got it the wrong way around. And it just goes in just like that. Then the audio connector, and this is the same. It's keyed here, so you can't possibly put it in the wrong way around. And there you go. Now I'm going to bolt it in the case. There's two more connectors after I've done that, the power connectors, and then it's basically bolted in place. And of course the power pins, they need to go on. So how you do this is like they're labelled. So first find the power switch. It says power switch on it, and this connector here, it goes on the bottom two pins on the right hand side. Right, then next you have this connector. That's the hard drive LED plus. So you put that on the first pin on the left hand side, and then you find the minus one. Oh, sorry, this one's joined together, sorry. So you just put that on there, so plus and minus. But the power LED is two separate connectors, so you put the positive power LED on the top pin on the right hand side, and the negative one just below it. Then you'll have this on some cases. You have a reset connector. Well, that goes on the bottom two pins on the left hand side. Right, time to bolt her in. As you can see, I've laid her into the chassis. Now there's these little holes, they're mounting points. Now what you have to do, you have to line your board up so it corresponds with the posts that are underneath the board. But be careful, because the cases are designed for lots of different types of boards, so you may end up actually shorting one out. So double check everything before you bolt anything in. Now I've got one screw in here that anchors the board. So then you just go and put the rest of the screws in. One. 2. I tend to do one side and then the other side so as not to put too much strain on the board. Three. And the 4th one. And that's it, it's bolted in place. So now it's time to connect the power cable. So we go around the back here. There's this power cable, that's the 24 pin. Right, feed on this case. We've got a hole to feed it up here, but it will change from case to case. There are some have different designs, and then we want the the CPU one, which is hiding around here somewhere. I think that's it. Yep, it is. And that goes up here. Now everything's done, I've got all connectors in there. I've even done a tiny bit of cable management around the back. Connected this fan up. All that needs to be done now is to test it and then bolt the sides on, and we're done. And there you go, we're done. I just put the 2 side panels on and jobs are good. I hope you like my tutorials. I'd appreciate it if I could get a like or a subscribe, as I'm just starting out as a channel. Every little helps. Thank you once again.